So we're looking at the average again. And so when we're doing this average, it's looking like we've got these different averages here. And it looks like it kind of goes up from year to year. That's great. And so it's asking what specifically is the population and what is the sample. So the population is like the big um, the where you can pull people from. So like all colleges to some extent would probably be the population of some um, something along those lines. And then a sample is like the specific things that we chose. Or if you're talking about like virtual reality farming, the population is all cows that are producing milk, and then the subset would be like the ones that are doing virtual reality farming, which again, kind of brutal. So if we're looking at the population, again, it'd be any college that can track a GPA.
Hey, Mr. Roberts,
Yep.
you can't see I mean, I don't know if you know, there's no, it's just your face on the screen.
Huh. Is that true for everybody?
I can see your screen.
I can see your screen also.
I mean, I can see his screen. I just don't see anything other than his face. I don't know if he was trying to show the notes or not.
I'll stop and then restart there. Abel, are you good now?
Yeah, I've got it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for letting me know. So all colleges using GPA. And then the sample would be specifically the 70 colleges chosen. So again, that sample is again what we choose. And then the population is what we could have chosen from. So again, if I did a study on all the people in this class, the population would be however many people are on the Zoom call, 21 of you. And then if I like the sample would be like if I just pulled 5 of you to do some kind of study. So lots of different kinds of samples here. You can kind of read through them, and I'm just going to quickly just give you like a rundown of each one. So randomly where it is probably the best in most cases, where you just randomly pick stuff. Random number generator is probably the best way to do that. So again, that would be like a truly random situation that there's no bias. There's not like even just using my finger, like I might get tired of pointing. So like if I just use like a specific random number generator, that's probably the best thing. The systematic way would be if you like lined up each element or each value and then picked like the sixth thing. Okay, so something like if there was 21 of you and I picked every third name as I looked down the chat, that would be systematic. So like every third person, that would be systematic. And then the stratified would be where you like break it into groups and then you specifically pick from those groups. So like for this, I could do like people above age 30, people below age 30, and then sample out like 5 people from each group. The clustering sample would be where if I broke you apart into like that same above 30, below 30, and then I just picked a whole group. So just maybe just picked the under 30 or just pick the older 30, and then the convenience, which is probably the worst in my opinion, and most people's opinion, that you would get just whatever you can get. So maybe like a survey is a lot of times the sample, a convenient sample for people that are willing to fill out a survey, something like that. So this is just kind of run through possible scenarios that are running here. So this researcher randomly selects 3 states and then asks all colleges willing to release great information from those states. So it broke it apart into, or it selected 3 and then asked all of those people. So it's probably one of the either stratified where it divided it into groups, or the cluster where it divided it into groups. So the difference is that the difference between is they divide it, but then the cluster is when all members of the specific group were selected, and then the stratified difference is that only certain numbers are selected. So since all colleges are willing, that would have put you in the cluster sample situation. Okay. Number 2, this just is a ton of reading. So if you struggle with reading, this is like going to be kind of rough next 15 minutes or so. I am not a great reader, so that was me mostly talking to myself. So the researcher numbered all of the colleges willing to release great information, and then chose every 10th one. If you look at my example up here, when I said like every 3rd person or every 10th college, that's getting at that systematic where it just lines them all up and just picks, every 10th, which again isn't necessarily bad. But depending how you line them up, if you just did alphabetical order, if all the great colleges are in the beginning of the alphabet just by chance, that might not be a great representation of the data set. Part C, the researcher numbered all the colleges willing to release the great information and chose several of them, choosing a random number generator. Random number generator is pretty telltale that that's just truly a random sample. And then lastly, the researchers grouped the schools by all the different kinds of schools, and then they chose 5 from each group. So they didn't pick the whole group. If it picked that whole group, it would have been the whole group, all members randomly selected. That would have been a cluster sample. So since it only picked some, we're looking at that stratified sample right there. Since it didn't pick that whole group, it will be a stratified sample.